I summited Mount Kenya, which is over 17,000 feet. And five of us, we went from Nairobi to a little town that was the base camp. En route, I remember I used the grossest toilet I've ever used in my life. And when you remember something like that, it's got to be memorable. Then we kind of finagled a ride. We paid some guy with an old Jeep, I believe it was about $120 to take us up Mount Kenya. They got a little kind of a nice little tiny town up there where you start the expedition. And we stayed overnight the first night there. Then the five of us set out. And as we set out, I remember going through very distinct levels of fauna. Like the first was just like the mountains of Montana almost. There was streams with trout in them and everything. And as we continued to climb, I believe it took us 5 days from the little encampment up top to actually get there. But as we continued to climb, it became almost like a Arizona-esque desert with these weird looking kind of big things that look like giant aloe vera plants. And we just continued to trek. It wasn't anything too crazy at this point. And they had these little zinc huts that were just very, not very fancy little zinc huts for you to stay in now and then. So we made it up pretty high, like I'm guessing maybe 14, 15,000 feet. And three in our party, they just said, man, we can't go on. We're getting altitude sickness. But me and this German guy named Stefan Schuhl, we continued up the mountain. Now, we got pretty close-ish, like maybe 2-3 miles away, and being a Montana boy, I just said, I'm going straight up it, man. I'm not going that circuitous route all the way around like that. I'm going straight up it. So me and my 32-pound pack headed right up this chute, and it was snowing. It was snowing sleet. And I headed up the chute, working my way up the chute, and I got to a point maybe 3 football fields up or something where I could not go any further. I was boxed in. So one of the scariest things in my life is I had to work down that chute, and all I had on was hush puppies, and I had to work down that chute in the sleet, not being able to really see with a 32-pound pack on by myself. It was scary. I got down and I figured, well, I'm gonna go the long way. That's the only hope. So I started going the long run, and I ran into Stefan, and we continued to go up a little together. Finally, I said, let's sit down and take a break. I sat down, and I said to Stefan, I can't go another foot. And he said, I can't either. And I said, let's pray. And we prayed, and the Lord showed me a vision of himself leading us forward with climbing ropes. And Stefan said, God told me we'll be there to the final hut in 10 minutes. And so we thought, well, let's keep going. And we kept going, and sure enough, we got there in 10 minutes. And by then, all of our stuff was wet, our sleeping bag was wet, everything was wet. Because I had a good North Face pack, but it wouldn't stand that level of constant sleet. And we got our little stuff out. I reckon we were probably at about 16,400 feet. It was high, and that damp sleeping bag, and I remember shivering all night, just going like this, because when oxygen ain't much, you really got to breathe to get some in your lungs. And I don't think I slept at all, maybe an hour, I can't remember, but we got up real early and just headed up to that summit, maybe 700 feet. It was an easy climb, but I know I was in love at the time, and I scrawled the name of the girl, James plus so and such, on the top of the mountain, and that was kind of cool. And then we came on down. I believe from the time we left the little base camp thing, it took us 5 days of trekking. It's a long trek. And once we were there at the top, we realized, oh man, we don't have a ride down. We're going to have to walk that 25 miles that we paid the guy to take us up. So we started walking, and a beautiful Jeep came down, a beautiful safari vehicle came down, and we're hitchhiking. And lo and behold, the guy stopped and let all 5 of us in. And the guy was in a complete white suit, and the Jeep seemed like it was brand new. We always wondered if it was an angel, because, who's going to let 5 young YWAMers in? And he took us on down, and the memorable part there was there was this bamboo forest that we went through, with big bamboo like that, and there was an elephant just standing in the middle of the road. It's like, man, you don't just honk and go, you wait. And we waited a long time, but finally the elephant got out and we did it. But it felt good to summit the second tallest mountain in Africa.